What's up, guys? Today I want to talk about the AR-15 that is not for everyone. So up here we have a 5.45 by 39 8K, which needs new stock, and this here is our 5.45 by 39 round. Compare that to our 5.56 by 45 millimeter round, and you can see there is quite the difference. I'm going to set these to the side. All of these guns have been pre-inspected, no live ammunition except for the rounds I have set over to the side. We're not going to be talking so much about this today as we are this. And what's interesting about this AR, and why I say it is not for everyone, is because this AR is chambered in the Russian 5.45 by 39 instead of the typical 5.56 by 45 millimeter ammunition. And why would you want something like this? So we can go ahead and we could talk about the 5.45 import ban, and we can talk about the lack of domestic support. But for starters, I want to talk about just general accessibility to the ammunition regardless of the import bans. Hornady makes a VMAX round, which, if you don't know what a VMAX is, it is essentially a hollow point ammunition with a red plastic ballistic tip that keeps the gun, or the bullet, excuse me, as accurate as possible until it impacts the target. Some people like to hunt small game, and even in some places I've heard of people taking deer with the 5.56 in a heavier configuration bullet. So why would you choose the 5.45 here over this 5.56? So for starters, obviously, as you guys can see, I'll leave them on the edge of the screen. The 5.45 has a bigger bullet, but a lighter bullet when we're talking about military loads. The 5.45 typically comes in a 52 and 60 grain projectile. This is a 60 grain Russian military cartridge called the 7.6, which is your standard FMJ with a steel core, except there is a hollow cavity just inside the bullet that once it hits, it creates somewhat of a hollow point effect while still having the steel core, which will allow for a level of barrier blindness, whereas your standard M855, this is a 55 grain XM193, will have a small steel core and will be a 62 grain projectile. Now, what are the benefits to this? We can talk about the increase in speed. I believe there are a few hundred feet per second more in this guy due to the lighter projectile than this guy. So what are some cons of the 5.45? We have discussed a little bit, we have touched availability. With the lack of domestic support and with the lack of imports from Eastern European countries, this round is becoming harder and more expensive to obtain by, I would say, the month, not even the week, not the day. I would say the month. It's getting harder and harder to get every month, or it's getting more expensive. Either way, it's not really good for the round in the US market. That said, plenty of ammunition is still floating around, and you can regularly still find 7.6 online for around $1 plus a round. So the good stuff is available. The Hornady ammunition is available. And everything Wolf and Golden Tiger in between is still available on the market. So the factors of cost for running the 545 is most people are going to assume it is an AK cartridge, and with that comes rumors of inaccuracy, inadequacy, extreme recoil, and really just a heavy, unlikable rifle. If you're an AK fan, you know, I am too. I do like my AKs. Obviously, I have a 545 here. But certainly, people are going to like this round in a more familiar package. And the magazines, which I will go ahead, there you go, come on, and drop, are extremely similar to our US 5.56 PMags or Stanag mags, you know, depending. And in fact, you can, from my research, reasonably load about 20 rounds of 5.45 into a standard US PMag. Now, I'm going to be building this out a little bit different. I don't think I'm going to continue with this receiver. This is going to go back to another firearm. But I'm wanting to build this just a little different. We're not really here for the build today, but this upper, minus of course the optic, grip, and grip texturing, was $500 at a gun show here in North Carolina. I picked it up just yesterday, actually. So, what are some pros? 5.45 mags exist for the AR platform. 5.56 mags will still fit your 5.45 ammunition. Lower receivers do not need conversion, and I believe all you need is a barrel and a bolt face, and you can swap out your AR parts. Do not quote me on that. Right? I am not a professional gunsmith. This is not any advice. This is simply talking about what I have acquired, the 5.45 round, and why I like it, why I'm doing this. Do not go out there and buy a couple of parts and make a switch and then say, well, I did it. I didn't do that. I didn't tell you to do that. Don't do that. Right? Remember, we're talking about thousands and thousands of pounds of pressure per cartridge. That's a lot. And if you do something wrong, you'll blow this gun up. Now, with that said, I believe many of the parts are interchangeable. Do your own research, take your own risks. But for the most part, this 5.45 upper fit on this Daniel Defense lower, running an AR buffer tube and buffer system. And this is a Daniel charging handle that I just swapped out actually onto this firearm. I do not like the A2s. This firearm can also run your Surefires, your RC2s, and any other 5.56 suppressor that you have will mount, because the diameter of the 5.45 is smaller than the diameter of the 5.56. So, we're talking AR parts compatible, magazine partial compatibility, we're talking handguard compatibility, suppressor compatibility, even for the most part optics compatibility. If you have a 5.56 optic that is kind of built for the 5.56 round, for the most part it should run, you know, pretty accurately with the mil dots or the MOA dots, whatever you want to call them. So, another pro of the 5.45 that I held on to, who is this for? This is for hog hunters and, to an extent, I believe, small game and deer hunters. Now, why do I say that? The 5.45 statistically has a flatter, longer range trajectory than the 5.56 cartridge. The Russian 545 has the same recoil, fits in the same platforms that we're used to, and is to an extent available in military hunting and plinking rounds, and fires flatter than the 5.56. So if you use an 18 to 20 inch AR platform for competition shooting, range shooting or whatever, something like that, if it is within the regulations of your organization, it might be worth looking into this 545 if cost is not much of a concern. You cannot go to any gun store and just pick up 545 like you can 5.56. But your 5.56 is going to start climbing and start falling faster than your 5.45. So you get better ballistic performance out of a familiar package or a more commonly available package. I still believe it's easier to find a 5.45 AK than a 5.56 AK. So you have a firearm for home defense, hunting, plinking, and there's a cool factor. This is really cool. This is not meant for everyone. And the only reason I have this is because I am a genuine fan of the 5.45 round and was looking for a 5.45 upper. Do your research, learn your cartridges, and decide what's right for you, if it's 5.56 or 5.45. But these kits do exist, they're reliable, and they are, pretty up to spec when it comes to modern 5.56 standards. Now, yes, granted, this is a cheaper upper receiver, and the bolt and the bolt face are for the 5.45. The gas system is chrome lined, which it will need to be because the 5.45 is more corrosive than the 5.56. That said, this system should be just fine for anybody who wants to pick one up just to take to the range once a year. One more thing I almost forgot to mention, it's nearly impossible to get 5.45 in a brass case, and it is pretty much impossible to reload due to the design of the round. So if you are a reloader, or you rely on indoor ranges or outdoor ranges with rules on magnetic ammunition, this cartridge is probably not going to work in your shooting style. Stick to the 5.56. That said, most people can get into the 5.45 in a familiar platform for a price that's a bit lower than they realize. Let me know what you guys think down below, and I will see you in the next one.